Ep20 presents Tiny Tales of Transformation. Episode 20, Generations and Transformation. For those who lead, manage, or support change in organizations, efforts are often focused on technology, processes, or organization charts. However, the critical issue lies elsewhere, namely with people. It is the speed of adoption. And this speed of adoption is never uniform. It varies according to profession, level of responsibility, exposure to customers, operational workload, working habits, and of course, generational differences. It is a structural reality. Within companies, several generations coexist within the same decision-making and execution chain. And these generations have developed professionally with very different standards, such as their relationship to authority, learning, feedback culture, digital technology, or the importance of the group. And this is a major driver of the performance of a transformation. Categorizing generations can be useful as a lens for analysis, but it becomes counterproductive when these categories are interpreted as causal explanations. The risk is managerial stereotyping. The mechanisms for adopting change are based primarily on well-known psychological determinants, the intensity of which is specific to each individual regardless to which generations they belong. For example, sense of personal efficiency, perceived threat, trust in decision makers, quality of support, and clarity of purpose. In other words, when faced with a transformation, employees do not only assess the novelty, they evaluate the mental effort, the risk to their identity, and the credibility of the company's ability to make them succeed. This is where intergenerational differences become apparent, not because one generation is open-minded and the other resistant, but because they do not perceive the same gains and losses. The more experienced can identify collateral effects on quality, customer relations, or the decision-making chain at a very early stage. The younger generation can quickly see the opportunities for simplification, speed, and autonomy. If these perceptions are not discussed, they turn into friction and then conflicts of interpretation. The current context accentuates this phenomena, as we are no longer dealing with individual changes, but with a portfolio of simultaneous transformations, with digitalization, hybrid work models, regulatory requirements, pressure on productivity, environmental and social issues, integration of AI, and the scarcity of certain skills. In this context, the main risk, apart from possible overt of resistance, is change fatigue, which can lead to compliance only in appearance and only superficial adoption. The strategic question therefore becomes, how can we increase the speed of adoption without compromising cohesion or the quality of execution? The first thing is to steer the process through real work situations. A successful transformation does not segment populations by age nor generations, but by impact. Old habits to unlearn, new skills to acquire, interfaces to be modified, areas of uncertainty to be addressed. To do this, you must map out the impact, function by function, and design a realistic sequence of building capabilities. The second axis is to institutionalize intergenerational cooperation. This can be achieved through organized transfer mechanisms, cross-mentoring, junior-senior sponsorship for commitment, multi-generational project teams, and even task sharing for certain critical roles. Adoption is accelerated when differences in experience are turned into assets for transmission. The third lever is to design an adoption architecture supported by appropriate communication, multiple channels, peer demonstrations, micro-training embedded into the flow of work, dedicated time for learning, close support, allowance for mistakes, and rapid demonstration of value. Adoption increases when the benefits are visible, less data re-entry, fewer errors, shorter deadlines, and better coordination. And finally, the fourth aspect is managerial equity without uniformity. Motivational drivers differ from one person to the next. Mature intergenerational management makes the difference between equal treatment and the standardization of incentives. It maintains common rules, but adapts the terms of engagement and involvement. It is therefore essential for managers and leadership teams to monitor indicators of adoption, actual usage, quality of execution, engagement of field managers, friction between teams, turnover in sensitive roles, and speed of skill ramp-up. Alpionice's role in helping management teams adapt the transformation to these generation gaps is to provide what internal teams cannot always generate on their own: a neutral point of view during analysis, methodology, mediation capability, and change management. Ultimately, the maturity of an organization is measured less by its ability to launch transformations than by its ability to get diverse teams to adopt them in the long term. And today, this skill is undoubtedly a competitive advantage. Want to find out more? Join us on alpionys.ch. alpionys.ch.